just can't refrain. Bitterness so quaint. One more shot, never again. All the excuses, always the same. All the times I tried, I just couldn't get over you. I just cannot hide the satisfaction you can prove. One more sip and breathe, my words disappear for a while. Then it all comes kicking in.
Let's go.
They tell me it's alright. They say that I'll get through. But however hard that I try, I just cannot get over you. When it all comes kicking in again. I'm shaken, stirred, awakened. It's taken this pain to realize the truth. You have been through all the things I've been through. You can be my muse, I write these songs for you. Now I'm shaken, stirred, awakened. It's taken this pain to realize the truth. So take the craving, take away the craving. Please take away the cravings from me. I can stay away from you. I'll make my way to you. No more tries, no more nights will keep me away from you. was pulling out my hair the day I got the deal. Chemically calm, was I meant to feel happy that my life was just about to change? One life pretending to be the cow got the cream. Oh, everybody said Marina is a dreamer. People like to tell you what you're gonna be. It's not my problem if you don't see what I see. And I do not give a damn if you don't believe. My problem is my problem, that I never am happy. It's my problem on how fast I will succeed. Are you satisfied with an average life? Do I need to lie to make my way in life? High achiever, don't you see? Baby, nothing comes for free. They say I'm a control freak, driven by greed to succeed. Nobody can stop me, 'cause it's my problem if I wanna pack up and run away. It's my business if I feel the need to smoke and drink and sway. It's my problem if I feel the need to hide. And it's my problem if I have no friends and feel I want to die. Are you satisfied with an average life? Do I need to lie to make my way in life? Are you satisfied with an easy ride? Once you cross the line, will you be satisfied? Sad inside in this life, unsatisfied, praying. Sad inside this life, unsatisfied, waiting. Are you satisfied with an average life? Do I need to lie to make my way in life? Are you satisfied with an easy ride? Once you cross the line, will you be satisfied? Are you 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 satisfied?
That song was second place on my Spotify Wrapped last year. In case y'all were ever wondering about the sheer impact, the sheer power of having music that's related to something you're deeply autistic about. Oh, my Wrapped this year is going to look absolutely incomprehensible. I can't wait. Happy Thursday. How's everyone doing? Is good. Is good. It's good to be good. We like it when good. That's preferable. I mean, I'm certainly having a good time because Last night I was drawing so much, and I'm gonna draw some more after this. And I keep staring at what I drew. Because I'm normal about my own art. I ate food not too long ago, which is amazing for me. Crunchy. I got crunchy fingers. Well, today, I'm wearing my Car Cat t-shirt for today's Car Cat chapter. I hope y'all are excited. I dressed the part today. I mean, it's just what I slept in. I was already wearing it. But, you know, it works out well. Well, if y'all are ready, I'm going to dive right into it. If y'all don't mind. Just as soon as I find it. I gotta find it. Okay, here we are. Here we are. Let's just jump right in, shall we? We've got... Well, I have all the time in the world to waste, technically speaking, because I don't have any, like, time-sensitive things to be doing anytime soon. But just because you can waste time doesn't mean you need to waste time, you know? So, let's just get this party started. How about that? Welcome. Everyone in the world. No, that's not true. Everyone who is hearing me now, welcome to the 11th chapter of Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series. If you're new here in chat, welcome. My name is Harper, but you can call me KK. My pronouns are they, it. If you're new, please read the chat rules, be chill, and have a good time. What on Earth, or off of Earth, is about to happen? I'll tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you. Your Words Destroyed My Planet by Unda is a 1,000,000-word Homestuck fic that focuses on Dave Soulcat. It's an AU set in a future where Earth and Alternia have been consumed by a mysterious force, and humans and trolls have escaped on spaceships for their survival. As of now, the fic is currently unfinished, but that doesn't matter to me, because in this stream series, I still aim to read the entire fic aloud by myself. Please do take note of the tags on this fic. We're looking at them right now. And be aware that you may be in for the discussion of some sensitive topics. If you would like to read back what I just said, you can type !fic about in chat. It's not an instant replay button, but it is the paragraph that I look off of every time I say those things. If you'd like a link to the fic itself on AO3, you can use !fic link. !fic song is just a brief explanation of a very special feature of these streams, which is the pre-recorded song sequences. This command cannot tell you which song is currently happening, but I have the power to do that for you. !fic sorry is just a couple of little disclaimers / apologies. This is a solo project, it's a live project, I'm not perfect, you know? We ball. And then finally you can use !VODs to get a link to my YouTube archive where I'll be putting every VOD for this series as well as my other streams. I didn't forget yesterday's, did I? I didn't, right? Tell me this now. Here, I'll go to my own subscriptions. I'll literally expose myself right the fuck now, just to make sure. Okay, so I'm not seeing me. Okay, here's 10, and then we're on 11. Okay, we're good. We're in the clear. Don't look too hard at my subscriptions! I ignore most of them! Okay. Well, with that confirmed, that I didn't forget last stream VOD. And it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before yesterday. Because yesterday was Wednesday. But, with that taken care of, with all those things addressed, what more is there to say but Your Words Destroyed My Planet Chapter 11? And by what more is there to say than that? I mean, I'm going to say the entire chapter. That's kind of the point of what we're doing here. I'm going to do it now. A nice, quiet evening in, you'd thought. It's getting closer to launch time, so Gamzee has meetings that he has to go to and training, so you had the hive to yourself, so you'd thought. Maybe you could watch a chill movie or put on one of the many films you've seen before and get your laundry put away. Instead, there's just an agitated banging on your front door, and when you open it, you're not in the least bit surprised to find Solix there. Gamzee's out of that thing, right? Solix says, in lieu of anything like, hello. He's out at the aforementioned thing you speak of. Hi, by the way. So nice of you to call in advance and see if I have plans, so... Oh, yeah, just let yourself in. You huff as Solix brushes past you into your hive. I need your help. On a few things, actually, Solix announces. Do any of these problems that you need help with involve Dave, by any chance? You ask as you follow him inside, letting the door shut behind you. Solix pauses at that, and his face does a complicated expression that's a grimace of irritation and frustration, but a clear bout of infatuated want there. So, yeah, the Dave problem persists. That's not really a problem I need help with. It's more that I've got complaints to lodge with the universe in general about him, I guess. I have to get changed with him. He's just getting completely naked as the day he was hatched, Solix starts. Born, you correct. Gross, but true. It's just, he's attractive, and it's not fair, and he's nice to me, and that's even less fair, but there's nothing I can do about that, so whatever. Solix shrugs. Alright, what do you have a problem with, then? You ask him, and usher him to sit on your lounge plank. Solix settles himself down and pulls his tablet out, so you join him. I talked to Aradia. She snuck in when I was getting ready to go swimming with Dave. I think he'd figured out that I wasn't totally okay with being right there with him and getting changed, so he stepped out for a bit. I just got changed properly when Aradia bursts into the room and claps her hand over my mouth like she was going to troll nap me or something, Solix tells you. Concerning, but you're clearly not abducted, so I'm assuming she wasn't there to do that, you say. It's these seductive insights that keep me coming back to you for help, Solix says flatly. You elbow him sharply, though he ignores you and keeps talking. She was apologizing for not talking to me since the breakup. She wanted to give me space, and she said she was sorry for dragging my bipolar out to try to stop me getting this job. She said she was just worried, and I'm not sure that makes it better, but she clearly didn't show up just to say sorry. She said that she couldn't stop me from doing this job now, but she refused to let them lead me into it blind, and she was going to help. Solix says. Is this about Fikari? You whisper, though there's nobody besides Solix here to hear you. I don't think so. She gave me this drive with music on it, recordings and sheet music. She said I had to listen to it. Then Dave burst in, Aradia threw me out, and the two of them had this big argument about it. Dave didn't take the drive away from me, though, and I think he was even trying to imply that it'd be sensible for me to listen to it. Solix explains. So, what was it? you ask. Solix taps on his tablet screen a few times, and then music starts to play. You don't recognize the song as such, but you do know the genre. You've heard it before. Those are shanties, working songs. Gamzee sings them sometimes. It's the same sort of thing that funeral song was, you say. Yeah, they're all like that. There's some in languages I don't speak, though. Listen, Solix says, and taps at another one. You listen carefully. That's German. Not a language you're proficient in, but you know a smattering, and you can speak enough related languages to get a vague hint of the song. It's basically another sea shanty. It's more of the same, you say after a bit. What's the point of these? Why did Aradia go to this much trouble to get me these? Why did Dave allow it? I've scoured the lyrics and the music here, and I can't see anything hidden. There's obviously loads of references to the ocean, but other than that, I can't see anything, Solix says despairingly. Do you know why we call them sailors? You ask, and he shakes his head. On Earth, there were astronauts and cosmonauts, other kinds too, but it's a compound word, astro and cosmo being words for space and stars, and the naut suffix is about sailing. Sailors of the stars. I guess trolls never really thought to name it, so when we translated the word, we were just like, sure, sailors, we'll call them that. Sea shanties used to be a thing on the ocean, but in the military too. They're songs with a really specific beat and commonly known lyrics, so everyone could sing them or work to the same beat, so work that required coordination fell into a rhythm. It makes sense that the sailors these days use the same thing, and I think it's an identity thing for them. I've heard Gamzee singing to himself before, you explain. Okay, that explains why they have these, but why was it so urgent that I get them? I'm sure Aradia wasn't terrified at the prospect of me not knowing the words in a group sing-along. I can't find any hidden messages anywhere. You look. She had to be trying to tell me something else, Solix says, and pushes the tablet into your hands. So, wait, you want... what? You want to see if I can find hidden messages in this? You ask him, gesturing to the tablet. Yes! We can't stop the mission, and I have to go down there. I want to, but I need to know what's in this, he insists. What makes you think I can do anything with this? You ask him. Did you get a qualification in cryptography and forget about it or something? It's... I don't know. Music is a language. You do languages, Solix says. He has a point. That's not how any of this works. I don't know if I'm annoyed at you that you haven't paid attention to what languages I know, or if I'm flattered that you think my knack for languages means you can just hand me anything and assume I'll be able to understand it, you say in exasperation. Solix opens his mouth, but you cut him off. Yes, I know, both. Look, if you send me these files, I'll see if anything connects, but they're just shanties as far as I can see. I don't know what meaning you're looking for there, but sure, I'll try, you offer. Solix seems satisfied with your agreement and sets about sending you the files. So, what else is bothering you? You question him, wondering if this might be an Aradia thing, since he said his Dave problem isn't really solvable. Solix hesitates, uncharacteristically nervous. You lean forward in your best listening without judgment pose and wait for him to say whatever he has to say. I've got my test in a week. I've still got 2 weeks of training after that, but Dave said it's basically the test to see if I pass enough to get into pre-flight quarantine with them before launch. I have to be most, if not all, of the way there by the end of the week, and I've been working as hard as I can on tech stuff and the physical stuff, Solix explains. You've been spending a lot of time on all of this, you agree. You've hardly seen much of him at all. I even have a hint of abs now, look, Solix says eagerly. He hops up onto his knees and lifts his shirt up to show you. You can't say you see any six-pack kind of definition there, but he's looking a lot less skinny and a lot healthier, that's for sure. Solix leans over a little to look at himself, and you can see him trying to flex a little. The whole thing is so earnest and vulnerable that your pump biscuit twinges to see him. He trusts you enough to be open with you like this, and you have feelings about that. As if you don't always have feelings for Solix. I did this morning. Look, hold on. Solix pulls his palm husk out and taps at it for a moment before turning it to show you. On the screen is a photo of Solix in his pajamas, taken as a mirror picture in his wardrobe. He's holding the bottom of his shirt between his teeth, his mouth pulled into a gleeful smile as he takes a picture of what you will admit is some actual definition there. If he wasn't so excited about it and clearly so thrilled in the photo, then the staging would almost ping you as an unsolicited picture you'd get from some asshole trying to flirt. Goodness knows that you've seen enough of those in HR cases between people. But this is Solux, and he's actually taking care of himself for once, and he's happy with the effect it's having on him. You take his palm husk from his hands and look properly at the photo. When you look back up at him, he's beaming. It strikes you for just a moment that although Solux's breakup was awful, that it hurt him deeply in ways that obviously haven't totally gone away. It might have been good for him. Scratch that. It's definitely been good for him. Since he's been training with Dave, he's been the happiest you've seen him in a long time. You know it's nothing to do with his crush on Dave, although that's a sign that he's healing. Instead, you think he's actually getting involved in something new. He's challenging himself with new things, and he's happier. That's amazing, you tell him quietly. Solix flashes you a smile and sits down again. So, I was going to ask, the test itself isn't confidential or anything, and I'm actually a little nervous about it. Terrified, maybe? I don't know, this isn't my usual stuff that I'm always the best at. I might actually fail this, even though Dave says he thinks I'll pass, so would you come with, if you're not working, or Solix says hesitantly, but you don't let him get to the end of that. I'll be there, just tell me when and where, you say. Solix throws his arms around you and you squeeze him tight. Naturally, you both pretend that didn't happen the moment the hug breaks, but you're touched that he wanted to ask you to be there, that he'd feel safer with you there. You know something is fucked up with Vicari's death, but you also believed Nepeta when she said that she knew what she was doing, and you have to believe she wouldn't put everyone in danger like that. You have to trust that Solix's suit, that the suits of everyone else, including your Moirail and your friends, will be fine. Mostly, you have to support Solix in this. It's Friday morning at 11 at the Sailor's Gym, Solix says. I'll be there, and hey, since you're all gonna be gone for a while afterwards, both in quarantine and off on some alien planet, we should have a party first. I could rent out a space and we could all get together, you suggest. What if I fail the test? Solix asks quietly. I don't think you will, and in the 1 in a million chance that happens, and you don't have to come if you don't want to, you say. Solix nods thoughtfully for a moment and then draws a deep breath in. You should invite Aradia, he says. You're sure? You ask. Yeah, we're friends, and I'm not keeping everyone else from her, he nods. Well, okay then. I'll arrange something, and I'm sure you'll do great on your test, you say with a nod. Oh, about that, there's another thing that I wanted your help with, since you have a way of doing things with words that ought to be illegal. I need to pick a name for my call sign, and there's specific conditions with it, he starts to explain. I know how that works. I helped Gamzee. You want me to help you pick your name, though? That's really personal, you remind him. Solix gives you a look like you're stupid. Of course it's personal and important. That's why he asked you. At least, that's what his expression communicates to you, at least. I have the list here. Jade hooked me up. The problem is that it's gotta be one word, but that word can't be anything you confuse with a description or instruction, so names of bits of the ship are out, obviously, but also anything that could sound like a direction. So even if I wanted to go with a 2 theme, I couldn't have 2 or double or half, but I also kind of want it to sound like a name, Solix explains. You slide against his side and peer over the list of names that Solix has open and critically look it over. I think there's criteria that you want here. You want something meaningful, but you also want something that doesn't sound embarrassingly try-hard or edgy teen's first username, and you want something that sounds like a name, on top of meeting the criteria you actually have to meet, you say up front. Dave said his name was Laika, which sounds like a name because it was. It's to do with Earth space stuff, so it's meaningful, and it doesn't sound pretentious and embarrassing. Okay, I get this Venn diagram that you're making. Solix nods. So, what were you thinking of going for? You ask. Solix shifts slightly in his seat and sighs a little. I was trying to come at it from the meaningful angle, I guess. Things that are core to me, or at least things that I like and have for a long time, he tells you. As opposed to naming yourself after a dumb meme, which would put you pretty far to the cringy part of things, yeah? You agree. Right, so anything around duality, maybe around psionics, but given that my ancestor already made the gutsy move to have his title be the psionic, I don't think I want to touch that. Also, when you consider this as space flight and being reduced to my psionics, it doesn't sit so well, so unless it's specific, I'm probably avoiding that. I thought maybe my whole Vision Twofold Doom thing, but first of all, that's a bit of a pretentious goth kind of vibe, and secondly, there's a weirdly high number of supernatural or ghost-themed names on here already, Solix tells you. It's a tricky thing to do. Just on an off chance, you Google duality just to see what kind of related words you're going to get. Dualism is interesting, but it doesn't sound like a name, or maybe it could be at a push. Difference is definitely not a name. Are you just looking up synonyms? Solix asks, craning his neck to see your palm husk. They're not great so far, you admit, and let him see. Yes, that's me. Ambivalence. I both do and don't care. Definitely the attitude I want to portray in my new job where I'm trying to get the sailors to trust me so we can figure out what's going on with Vicari, as well as all the shit I'm supposed to do for the actual job. Really good, he snorts. I did say they weren't good, you protest. A little while passes as you continue looking up possible names. At your side, Solix is doing some scrolling of his own on his tablet, but he seems a little fidgety. You're wondering why when he finally speaks up, although, given how quiet his voice is, that might be something of a misnomer. I also thought maybe whatever I pick might have something to do with Meduna, Solix says, his voice quiet and soft. You open your mouth to say how sweet that'd be, but you get the feeling that Solix isn't quite done talking, and if you interrupt him in this, he might never say what he's thinking. I don't even know if he's, alive, but I think he'd think this is cool. Not the planetary tech support thing, but actually getting to see cool new places, being on a shuttle. I thought maybe if I could bring him with me somehow, it'd be... Solix shrugs with one shoulder, the gesture a little helpless. I thought maybe skate tricks, but they either didn't sound like names or just didn't sound like me at all. I asked Dave, though, not about the name, but about bringing something, and he said we're allowed to bring personal effects. They've got to be vetted, so it's not like, yes, this is my emotional support explosive. I would like to keep it right near the life support, but... Do you remember that dumb plastic ring he won in the arcade at one point? The cryptography spinner ring? He had it all the time in school because he could mess with it without getting in trouble. I found it when I was moving. It was in my desk. Do you think I should take it with me and leave him out of the name? I could put it on a necklace or something, because we have to wear gloves, and it's not exactly small. What do you think? Solix asks, and finally looks at you. You may or may not be silently crying a little. The sight of your tears seems to alarm Solix a little, but you push that aside and hug him tightly. You smush his face into his shoulder and sniffle for a moment as you try to get words together for him. I think that'd be really great. I think he'd love you taking a shit plastic ring with you the way humans take religious symbols. He'd think that was the funniest shit ever. It's also really sweet of you to think of that, you say with your voice watery. Are you really crying? Solix asks and weakly pats your back. No, shut up, you sniff. You pull back and rub at your face, so there's no evidence that you were crying at all. The perfect crime. I still can't believe you're even going, you say thickly. Hercat, I can't quit, Solix starts. No, I know that you have to go and want to and everything. It's just that we've never been that far apart before. When we were kids, you lived 2 blocks away from me and Crab Dad. Even when you got your place with Aradia and then with Dave and Hal, you've still never lived more than 20 minutes or so from my hive. The idea of you being so far away is weird. Normally when Gamzee and Aradia went off, we'd spend loads of time together. I'm really gonna miss you, you admit softly. Well, now Solix looks like he might cry too. It won't be that long. And when I come back, I can tell you everything, and you make fun of me for all the stupid stuff I'll probably do. Solix offers, and with a slightly watery smile. I'm sure you'll have plenty to tell me. You agree and lean against his side. Solix goes back to looking at name ideas on his palm husk, and curiously you flick through the files Aradia gave him on his tablet. You really don't understand what significance they would have. It would make sense for her to say it was an important thing for the job culture, and she didn't want him left out, but she wouldn't have to sneak behind Dave's back to do that. They wouldn't argue over that, and Dave wouldn't hint at its importance. Solix is right. There has to be something else there. You'll be damned if you can think about what it is, though. What about a pun? Solix asks, looking up from his palm husk. You don't get to change it, I don't think, so it better be funny forever, you warn him as you scroll through the songs. Solix makes a thoughtful kind of sound and keeps looking. You go back to looking at the songs, the sheet music, and the corresponding music files. If Aradia was hiding a message in there, that'd be one thing, but from what Solix said, it sounded like Dave immediately got whatever meaning was hidden there, so surely looking super deep into the lyrics of this won't help, because he didn't have to do that, right? So, if the songs themselves are the message, then what's the message? Duel, Solix says slowly, and then says it a second time. Just duel? You ask him. No, D-U-A-L and D-U-E-L. I could do something with that. So it's only a number pun for people who know me, Solix says, literally spelling it out for you. So you'd use the dual part and the number thing would be implied? Also, wow, that no longer seems like a word, you say with a frown. Duelist! Solix gasps. It sounds like a name, or a title at least. It's not Try Hard Cringy, and it's related to something about you. It passes the test. It's also not something that'd be casually said over comms, so it should pass their specifications for a call sign. I like it, you say with a slow smile. Say it to me, Solix says. Duelist, you say, like you would his regular name. Yeah, that feels like it could be my name, Solix smiles. I'm happy I could help then. Are you going to submit it? You ask as you lean against his side again. Solix nods and takes his tablet back off of you. You watch as he goes through the forms to submit his call sign for approval. It feels like another significant milestone on his journey, and you're honestly really proud of him. The night before Solix's test, you swallow your pride and head over to Nepetta's place. You've not heard from her since the incident about Vicari's suit. You know that you weren't in the wrong, not in the sense that you were mistaken. You know she's lying about what happened with Vicari, and the report that she had sent off to Monodi was fake, but that said, you're pretty sure that you could have gone about things better, even if she didn't leave you with much choice. However human the concept might be, you consider her as more than just an old friend. She's family as far as you're concerned, which means that you need to make an effort to mend fences here before she goes off on the mission to Somnos. Surely the longer you leave it, the more this will fester, and you hate that. She's not reached out to you, so you need to go talk to her. You ring the bell to Nepeta and Equius's rather large hive. Given her position in the Sailors, and Equius being a doctorist, they qualify for a decently roomy place. It's nothing compared to the mansion-sized place that someone of Equius's hue could have afforded back on Alternia, but by the finite size constraints of your ship, it's generous. It's Nepeta who answers the door, and it hurts more than a little to see that she frowns at the sight of you. Karkat, I wasn't expecting you, she says stiffly. Nepeta, can I come in and talk? I wanted to apologize, you ask hopefully. Nepeta shuts her eyes and sighs for a moment, then steps aside to let you in. You walk inside and note that Equius is sat on one end of the L-shaped lounge plank. His white coat is draped over one arm, and though he glances up at you from his tablet, you get the impression that he's still working. He gives you a nod and goes back to his work. So, what did you come here to say? Nepeta asks, standing there with her arms crossed. You haven't sat down anywhere or been offered a drink or anything. You're both just stood in the entryway by the shut front door. I wanted to say sorry. Things have felt bad since that day, and I don't like it. I don't like the idea that you're going to be off on another planet with this hanging over us. It doesn't feel right, so I wanted to come here and fix things between us. you tell her. Nepeta sighs, and her shoulders drop slightly. I don't like it either. I don't want to leave things this off between us, but I really need to know that you mean that you're sorry. You burst into a restricted area, and I had to leave a really important meeting with Palapa to deal with you, and then you threatened me? You don't understand what you put at risk there, not just my reputation, but people's lives, Nepeta says firmly. I only did all of that because I was worried about people's lives. Monodi was getting shut down everywhere, and so was I. Without any other information, how was I or anyone in PPEE to know that the suits weren't going to kill more people? Suits that you wear, my Moirail wears, our friends wear. You insist. Right, so you're not sorry. Karkat, I know what I'm doing. I'm not... I think you think that we're all still 13, that I don't know what I'm doing, but I do. I'm good at my job. Sometimes accidents happen, and I'm the one who has to shoulder that burden. I know what's going on with the investigation into his death, with the reports, with everything. It was handled, and you just burst in like you think you can just meddle in whatever you want because you know best, Nepeta says harshly, and you actually step back a little from her words. That's not true at all. Monodi came to me for help. I was doing my job, you protest. No, you weren't. You overstepped because you just have to get involved in problems and solve them. You still act like you did as a kid, trying to get in the middle of everyone's problems so you could distract yourself from your own. It's one thing when you do that with people, but with this? No. There are consequences to you trying to fix things, Karkat. She argues back. What exactly do you think I'm trying to distract myself from? Because it's certainly not the fact that the report you finally sent to Monodi was total shit. You snap at her. All right, Equius says, standing up and putting his tablet aside. I think things are getting a little too heated here. Nepeta has a lot of work at the moment, and this is clearly not productive. Karkat, I think you should go and reconsider your apology for another time, because this is not so much an apology and more you defending how you think you were justified, which is not helpful to either of you. Oh, no. Nepeta clearly has something to say, so say it. If she thinks I'm acting like a dumb teenager, then I want to hear why. You hiss and glare at Nepeta. I don't know, Karkat. Maybe you should look at your pathological need to help people and fix other people's problems, especially if they're relationship problems. Maybe you should wonder why you have this dissatisfaction that you clearly redirected to everyone else. Maybe you'd rather try to screw up my professional life than deal with your own personal life. Nepeta growls at you. So Gamzee, this is a dig at Gamzee, you snap. She's tried to tell you about how her Moira allegiance works compared to yours, but you've refused to bite because you don't need help. I didn't say that, but clearly you already know the problem you're avoiding, Nepeta replies. Enough! Equius's voice is loud now, and he towers over you both with a dark expression on his face. This conversation is not productive, and you're both going to end up saying things that you will regret, and they will be hard to take back. Nepeta, please stop. Karkat, I think you should leave. Perhaps when Nepeta returns from her mission, everyone will be a little calmer, Equius says. You and Nepeta are both seething, but you have to admit that Equius at least has some kind of point here. Fine, you say through gritted teeth and see yourself out. There may as well be an actual thundercloud over your head as you storm home. You can't believe that Nepeta would say that to you. You know that by personal problems she means Gamzee, because everyone has their opinions about you and Gamzee. You know that. You're not stupid. But you thought that you got through to everyone when you were younger that you're not interested in unsolicited advice about whether you should be with Gamzee or not. It's not like with Solux, where he'll offer you his opinion on something that Gamzee has done or said that's relevant to what you're talking about. You're not saying that Gamzee is beyond criticism, but you're not interested in people telling you what to do with your own romantic life. They don't know your situation, and they don't get to comment. As for Nepeta bringing Gamzee into things in what was clearly an obvious way to hurt you, that's just too far out of line. Sure, your relationship isn't perfect. You aren't perfect. You could be a better Moirail, a better friend, a better person in general, but you try. Goodness knows that Gamzee isn't perfect, but he puts up with your flaws and he's supportive. When you weren't sure whether to go into HR like Cancri wanted or to pursue your degree, he sat and listened to you as you agonized over the options. He wasn't flustered like you were, or insisting that it was the most vitally important thing ever like Cancri. He just told you that he was cool with whatever you chose. Him being so calm and unbothered most of the time is probably something you need to balance you out. And even if that wasn't the case, how dare Nepeta try to imply that she knew better? How... You stop abruptly outside of your front door, staring up at the light in the hall above you. It's glowing eye-searingly bright, alternating between normal light and impossible brightness. It's just malfunctioning, surely. Even so, a shudder runs through you, and it's only because you've stopped that you catch a voice that doesn't belong coming from behind your front door. I mean, it's fine. I get you can't put him and Rowdia together. I'll take Fozzer. That's Dave. You lean a little closer to the door. It's your problem when he sees it, Gamzee replies. Okay, it's still if, not when. And Dave falters, and you catch him shifting from Alternian to something else. His voice is muted through the door, but you're pretty sure that he's speaking Spanish now. Gamzee doesn't speak Spanish. What's going on? Who else is in there? You hear footsteps, and in a panicked rush, decide to open the door before Gamzee can. Maybe you look less guilty that way. When the door slides open, though, you can only see Dave and Gamzee. Hey, Karkat, Dave says casually. Hi? Did I interrupt something? You ask uncertainly. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Me and Gamzee have fallen in love. It's me, him, and Jade together. We're going to elope, and... Nope, can't do that. I just pictured you and Jade boning, and I think I just threw up in my mouth a little. Dave directs that last part at Gamzee. Gamzee gives a vague shrug, like he wouldn't be averse to the idea, making Dave over-dramatically recoil even more. Well, as fun as this has been, I gotta go. Solix is freaking out about his test tomorrow, so I'm gonna go help him and then maybe bleach my think sponge later, Dave says, and as he passes you on the way out, he sticks his hand in your hair and scritches between your horns. You go to elbow him, but of course he dodges you. You and Jade can call me anytime, Gamzee calls out with a grin on his face, and you can hear Dave theatrically gagging just as your front door shuts behind him. That was... something. Sorry about that. We were dealing with last-minute arrangements for the mission. You okay there? You got your rage face on. Gamzee asks, and lumbers over to drape an arm around you. Your seething indignation has been kind of undercut by the weirdness of finding Dave at your hive talking to Gamzee alone. That whole thing was weird. How did Gamzee even know to open the door when... Wait. Ugh, you hate it, but maybe this is the kind of distracting yourself with other problems that Nepeta was talking about. You certainly don't want to make her right, so you stop thinking about all of that immediately. I went to go make peace with Nepeta, you tell him instead. Guessing that went bad? Gamzee asks and steers you to the lounge plank to sit with him. You can say that again, you sigh, falling onto the lounge plank. Gamzee seems to consider this for a moment as he folds himself up next to you on the cushions. Guessing that went bad? He repeats himself. Funny, you say flatly. You shake your head and sigh, sliding down a little on the lounge plank. I'll admit that I'm pretty sure I screwed the apology, you say. How so? Gamzee asks, and reaches over to stroke through your hair, undoing any messing up caused by Dave. Because I'm not really sorry, you admit, with a hot flare of guilt up the back of your neck. Being sorry is kind of needed for an apology, or else it's not much of an apology. Pretty sure you've told me that before, Gamzee points out. I know, you whine and cover your face with your hands. Yeah, no wonder this went badly. In my defense, you start again. I am sorry that I embarrassed her professionally, or if I caused her any problems there. That wasn't my intention. I know her career is important to her. She's good at what she does and well-liked. She's your boss, and you've never had a bad word to say about her work. I know she's good. I would never want to mess that up for her, and if me going in there like I did upset things, then I am sorry for that. Did you tell her that? Your Moirel asks you gently. Not as such, no. I'm also sorry that I kind of abused my connection with Disciple to even get in there. I'm pretty sure that reflects badly on her, and that wasn't my intention either. You add. Gamzee nods and waits for you to keep going. I guess the problem is that I'm not sorry about pushing about these suits and about what happened to Vakari. I know I've not really told you much about it because of confidentiality, and you knew the guy, so it seemed tactless, but everything to do with his death is some kind of cover-up, and no one had access to his suit. You wear the same suits. If there's some flaw in them, I can't be expected to know that and just wave you off on your next mission. You say, emphatically waving your arms as you talk. Just as the energy takes you, the power of your righteous indignation, it fades and you're left feeling hollow. I'm not sorry because I was right, but I clearly fucked up the execution of it, and going there apologizing for only some of it probably came off incredibly insincere and self-serving. You admit quietly. Your blood pusher was in the right place. It always is, Gamzee tells you and runs his hand over your back. I could have met her privately at her hive to figure this out instead of bursting in there like that. I didn't think. It was a pretty nasty fight just now, and I think I deserved a lot of it, you say, with regret building up inside of you. Gamzee sighs and pulls you back onto the lounge plank so you're looking at him properly. Listen, even if there was some problem with how Vakari's dying was dealt with, it doesn't mean there's a problem with my suit. I'm fine. We check them all the time. I'll be fine out there. I've got Kurlos watching over me, Gamzee says, and pulls his sleeve up so you can see Kurlos' memorial tattoo. You'd never try to take Gamzee's comfort away from him. He clearly has a sense of spiritual belief there, and draws reassurance from the thought that Kurlos still exists somewhere and is watching over him. You don't believe that one bit. You buy that there's a brief lingering of the spirit when someone dies, enough to communicate with Solix or for Aradia to see for a while, but these things fade away, and there's no ever after heaven or dark carnival out there where the dead reside. It's just not true. Kurlos isn't watching over him, and you're not reassured one bit by that. Even if he was, you don't think it'd reassure you at all. Better to change the subject. Nevada got in my face saying about how I always have to get involved in problems, that I meddle in things and people to distract myself from my own problems, you say instead. Gamzee's face flickers through shock and then an expression that you really don't like at all. Damn, she just went for you, huh? Gamzee mutters. Oh, great. You think she's right. You huff. It's not something sinister. You're not like some who go out and cause problems because they're bored or don't want to think about their own stuff. Our little group is always having some kind of drama. You know everyone, and when there isn't, you've got work. You want to help. I think it's something of your ancestor in you. Gamzee corrects you. There's a difference between I help because I can't stand to see people I care about hurting, and I help because I need to be helpful. Aradia didn't want my help with her breakup because I'm obviously closer to Solix, so I asked Jade to look in on her. Now Aradia's doing better, and as far as I've heard, Jade and Aradia have got closer from it. I helped. I can't just stand by when I could help, you argue. Gamzee makes an uncertain noise in his throat and looks away from you. What? You demand. You could, though, he says. And just leave people to their problems when I can... You start to rant, but Gamzee raises a finger to pause that thought. What happens if you don't help? He asks. Then things go bad. Things go bad, and people have to go through something awful with no help, and they have to know that I could have helped and didn't. They get abandoned, you argue. And you're the only one who would help? If not you, nobody would? Aradia has other friends. She was always real friendly with Tav. She could have talked her feelings out with him, or someone at work, at her lab, or she could have grown and helped herself. Gamzee points out. That's not... You falter. What are you trying to say here? That no one else would ever help, so it always has to be you? Or is it that you're too empathetic to people's pain and you have to step in because it hurts to see? Or do you think that you're the only one qualified to do what's best for people? You don't think it's the second. Goodness knows you don't have a high enough opinion of yourself for that. You know what it's like to hurt and to struggle and need help. You've been in that position, and there have been times when either no one did help you or your problem was such that no one could. You hate the idea of anyone else feeling like that. You think I'm helping people for selfish reasons? You ask. I think you help because you care, and it's nice to feel needed, I guess. I like knowing that you need me. People need people, Gamzee says, and leans over to kiss your forehead. A leaden feeling settles in your stomach. He basically just said yes, didn't he? Gamzee stands up and stretches. I'm gonna shower and sleep. You coming? He asks. You shake your head mutely for a moment before answering out loud. I think I'm gonna sit here and think for a while, you say softly. Nepeta won't hold things against you forever. She's stressed and she knows you love her. You'll both get past it. You always have, Gamzee informs you sagely. Yeah, I hope so, you nod, although it's not really Nepeta herself weighing on your mind so much as what she's told you. Gamzee gives you a little nod and walks off to the ablution block, leaving you alone. In Gamzee's defense, it's not like all actions that you take have to be completely selfish. That might not even be possible most of the time. If you feel bad because someone is hurt and so you help them, yes, you did it because you had empathy, but you also relieved the feeling of discomfort that your empathy caused. You still benefit. It'd be stupid of you to demand that everything you do for other people is entirely selfless, that you can't gain anything from it at all. That's not the part that's really stuck under your skin. The part that's really got to you was the bit you didn't say to Gamzee, the part where Nepeta said that you were helping people and meddling in their lives to stop yourself from thinking about your own problems. Those problems specifically relating to Gamzee. She said you were acting like you used to when you were 13, that you're stuck that way instead of growing up like she has. The thing is, you know that at least when it comes to 13-year-old you, that she's right on the money. Your friend group was always a mess of drama and feelings, and you swear most of your friends back then had their heads up their asses when it came to dealing with other people. At that age, you had loads of your own problems. Most strongly was working out how your own dumb mutant attraction worked. You hated the introspection it took to work out what you wanted, how confusing your own feelings were. Other people's problems were a breeze in comparison. Rose had feelings for Kanaya, so you could help her talk it out and steer them to happiness together. June had inadvertently offended Tavros, so you can go and smooth that mess out. Solix blew up at basically anyone, and you could go and shake some sense into him. You absolutely helped people because it also distracted you. Your internal senses detected that you had a problem, so you solved a problem, just not yours. It soothed the pain of it for a while. Back at that age, you couldn't stand to be alone with your thoughts for long, or else you'd end up in one of your many journals, raging at yourself and your failures in a way that solved nothing. But if you were helpful, that was better. Your friends couldn't throw you and your awful mutant feelings out if they all liked you and you'd helped them all, right? It's cringeworthy to think back on, but you're pretty sure that everyone feels that way about things they did when they were 13. It's the whole point of being that age, isn't it? If you're still like that, and you know you still do fix people's problems for them, does that mean that you're still hiding from your thoughts? That you're still using it as a crutch so you don't confront things inside of you? You sit there with your thoughts, lulled somewhat by the background white noise of Gamzee's shower. You know Nepeta was talking about Gamzee. She's never thought he was good for you, but you refuse to hear about it. It's your life, your relationship, and most importantly, your highly demanding and super weird quadrant problems. She wouldn't get it, but it's easy to dismiss that, isn't it? It's easy to say that no one else knows what they're talking about, and it's different when it's you, but if she thinks you're avoiding things, then you either have to take a long, hard look at yourself or admit that you are being evasive. You really hate other people being right, so you have to look at yourself, at your life. But where to start? Gamzee is the obvious starting place, but even then, he's a huge topic. The most obvious problem in your relationship with Gamzee is the tension between him and Solix. They can't stand each other. Solix thinks he's the worst and awful for you, but he respects that it's your choice, and he also doesn't want to stop being your friend, and if the price for that is being near Gamzee sometimes, then so be it. Gamzee, for his part, understandably hates Solix because the two of you have feelings for each other. Of course he'd hate that. The amount of closeness you have with Solix no doubt treads on his toes, and you should be thankful that he's as okay about it as he is. It's not like you're cheating on him with Solix. It's not like that at all, but he is important to you and closer than anyone else, besides which you do get affected by how things are going in his life. It can't be easy for Gamzee to hear about all of that, to see it and have to tolerate it. The reality is that you're probably not that nice of a person to put them both through that. Are you... You look up as Gamzee leaves the ablution block. I'm going to sleep. You coming with? I know you're set to worrying all night, but you shouldn't, Gamzee says, his hand resting on his hip where he has a towel around his waist. I'll be there later. Just gotta wrestle with my thoughts for a while, you say with a weak smile. Make sure you win, Gamzee says lightly and walks off. You stare at the shut door for a moment and then let your gaze drop back to the lounge plank that you're sat on. Solix has seemed far happier the last few times you've seen him. His life changed when he and Aradia broke up, and he's doing new and different things. He seems happy. Are you happy? You want to say yes, or rather, you want to defend yourself. Sure, you're not cartwheeling around with deranged glee every day, but you're an adult. Not every day is going to be that. You have chores to do, you have irritating work weeks, you have just stuff to do that's not euphorically fun. It's unreasonable to expect that. And no, Gamzee isn't perfect, but neither are you. Solix was right to break up with Aradia when it was clear that he wasn't going to be happy, and sure, you could be single like he is. Unlike you, however, he can date other people afterwards. You can't. Here's the really ugly truth. As much as you do have feelings for Solix and he has feelings for you, you don't know if he could give up other quadrants for you. When you were younger, you hadn't worked yourself out enough to ask, and in a probably self-serving and self-sabotaging move, you'd encouraged him to pursue his attraction to Aradia. It took the whole matter off of the table, as it were. It's just so much to ask of someone, and at the end, the grand prize is what? You? Great. Let's say you were a merciless bastard, and you decided that everyone was right and Gamzee wasn't good for you, that his flaws were too much. You don't think that. Even though he does have his flaws, you and he work. You keep him stable and act as a band-aid for his past hurt. But say that you did that. Say you broke up with him. You could take a bit to settle yourself afterwards and actually pursue Solix given what you know you need, and let's say that he was interested enough to go for it. Even assuming your utter heartlessness to do that, and him saying yes at all, you don't know that you'd be enough for him. You don't know that he wouldn't catch feelings for someone else in some other quadrant. Maybe he gets a pitch thing for one of the sailors he's around now. He wouldn't cheat on you, you're sure of that, but he could easily grow to resent you denying him anyone else. And then what? You'd lose your best friend, the person you care about most of all. You can't do it. You can't take that risk, and you can't put him through that either. Gamzee has been your 1 in a million shot of someone who just wants you and doesn't resent you for it. It's not so simple for you. It's not like you're blind to Gamzee's problems. He's got trauma from Kurlos' death and his ancestors' execution. He can be a little territorial at times. Sometimes he gets far too angry at people, and you have to fix his problems before they blow up, and on the other hand, sometimes he doesn't see actual problems as being a big deal. It's not like you're unhappy. You pity Gamzee for all of that, and your feelings are genuine, but you're not entirely happy. Maybe you do involve yourself in other people's problems as a way of feeling better. Your problem doesn't have a solution that you can see, but helping a friend with heartbreak does. Finding a friend somewhere to live has a solution. Is that so bad of you, to help people and feel better in the process? That particular question keeps you awake. You can't stop your mind racing over the hours. Even when you try to go to bed, you have to get up again because you're just staring at the ceiling. When you get up, you end up looking over the old chat logs between you and Solix from back then. All you want to do is reach back through time and throttle your past self. It's a level of self-loathing you've not sunk to for a while, but You still have to go about your life the next day regardless. It's not exactly fun. You won't let it affect the going away party or Solix's test, though. Those things are more important than your problems. We're gonna have a short intermission. I will be back in a number of minutes that has 2 digits. I didn't think they were gonna put another, like, the beginning of the loop at the end of the video on that one. That would have been such an elegant pause and then transition if they hadn't done that. Because I was just letting it fade out pleasantly. And then they were like, actually, wait, hold on. I got a little bit more in the tank. And I was like, hey, you don't need to do that. The song has a perfect fade out already. And they were like, no, check this out though. I'm gonna put the first couple of measures of the song at the end again and then fade it out of my own accord. And I said, why would you do that? And they said, it doesn't matter why. I'm doing it. And I said, don't. And this conversation actually didn't happen because I don't know who made the video. How's it going? I'm back. We're gonna say some more words now. Cowcat's having a time. But when is he not? You have a baby kitty! Thank you so much for the follow! I didn't get scared this time. Wander, you should give the baby kitty pets for me. I'm certain that you already are doing that, but you should do some on my behalf as well. Some extra ones. Hello and welcome. I've just returned from my mid-chapter break. I'm about to dive right back into it, so I guess no more filler, let's just say words, you know? It's time for Thing. Thing is now. Even as you go about your day, your thoughts buzz around you like flies. You're simultaneously muted inside and also filled with far too many thoughts. Instinctively, you want to reach out to Solix to get his ideas about this. He's always been pretty adept at calling you on your shit. That includes situations where the shit in question is you being awful to yourself for your mistakes. You can't do that, though. He has his test today, and you simply cannot throw his focus off of it. Your problems have obviously been there for a good long while, and they can stay there longer. There's no way you're taking this away from him. So you stand there outside the gym as Solix takes his test. Dave's there with you, his eyes glued to his palm husk where he's reading the information that Solix's wrist monitor feeds to him. Polypa, who was conducting the test, had decided that Dave was just distracting Solix, so both of you are waiting outside. Is he doing okay? You ask him anxiously.
His pulse is high, so I guess he's doing the endurance test, but his numbers are okay so far. Oh, he must have got off. His pulse is dropping.
Dave says that last part hurriedly and cranes his neck to see through the window in the door with no more luck than the first 20 times he's tried. Should his pulse drop? Is that good? You ask uncertainly.
Yeah, it means he's recovering from what he did. It's the measure of how fit you are. A faster recovery is better. See? It's going down.
Dave explains, showing you the screen. The numbers are indeed dropping, but beyond that it doesn't mean much to you. You look up at Dave's anxious expression, and you find yourself curious, which is probably you redirecting your own problems, but whatever. How come you're so nervous? Solix seemed to think you were pretty sure he'd pass, you say curiously.
I am. Mostly, anyway. He tried really hard whenever we trained, but it's a lot to ask of someone, and people get nervous and mess up in far lower pressure situations than this. Besides, he gave it everything he had, so if he's not able to pass, that means that I'm the one who failed here. It'd mean that I was supposed to train him to pass and didn't manage it. It'd be really shitty to let him down like that. Dave says. He seemed a lot happier since... You fall into sudden silence as the door opens and Polypa comes out with Solix behind her. Centrifuge, Polypa says without any further explanation and walks off. Solix is sweat-drenched and yellow-faced, but he gives you a weak smile and hurries after Polypa. He passed the exercise part. She's just testing his G-force tolerance, and psionics who can fly always pass that. Dave whispers gleefully. Holy shit, let's go! You hiss at him and pull him along after Polypa and Solix. The centrifuge testing area, or whatever it's called, is a giant circular room with a huge contraption in the middle. It almost looks like some fairground thing you've seen in old movies. Solix can't even hide that he's delighted that one side is blue and the other red. And he, unfortunately, is on the other side of the glass wall, so you can't give him shit about it. From the expression on Dave's face, you're pretty sure he's thinking the same thing. I'm amused. So essentially how this works is it simulates the effects of various G-forces. Things you get from entering or leaving atmosphere, that sort of stuff. Only since we can't really screw with gravity inside the ship in a way that'd simulate it without breaking the ship, we do this. Dave explains for you. Can you tell me what this is exactly? Because it looks like it's just gonna spin him around really fast. You ask dubiously as Solix climbs into a pod. You can see him getting strapped in and Polypa talking to him through the little monitor in the room that you're in. Sorta, yeah. G-forces basically affect how your blood is able to move around your body and how well you can cope with that. Like that trick they have you do in school when you're little where you put a water in a bucket and spin it around with your arm and the water never falls out. It's like that, only your blood is the water and you're the bucket. Dave explains. There's a pause for a moment. We're gonna both pretend that I didn't just say something that accidentally pornographic, yeah? He asks hopefully. I'm feeling magnanimous since you're explaining things for me. You said psionics tend to pass this, then? You say, moving on quickly. Right, yeah. So there's a few schools of thought as to why that is. It's just the ones that can fly that find it easier. Some people think it's because their flight would produce pretty sharp G-forces when they pull off 6 stunts or whatever, so they're built for it. Other people say that they're psionically cheating and assisting their own blood flow. The only problem with that one is that they're on psi blockers when we do the actual flight, so they don't actually accidentally burst the ship and kill everyone, and they still do well even then. I think it's more of a little column A, little column B kind of thing. I think having psionics powerful enough to act on your own body probably does things that prepare you for all this, even if your psionics get turned off when we launch. Dave tells you. Right, and the machine does what again? You question, since Dave only half answered and then went off on a tangent. Because, you know, Dave. So, it uses the same spinning thing I told you about to put force on him to move the blood in his body. It can cause nausea, problems with your vision, and eventually, if the force is enough, the blood goes away from your think sponge, and that causes problems with being conscious, Dave tells you. You stare at him in dumb shock and then back at the machine that Solix is now inside. You need blood in your think sponge to live. Couldn't this kill him? You ask in horror. Dave gives a half-hearted shrug. Theoretically, if you cranked it up to the very max that this thing does and left it like that, then yeah, but we don't send people on missions where they're going to be put through that kind of force, so we don't have tech or use tech in a way to do that. He's going to be fine, Dave assures you. As Polypa settles into the controls, you watch on nervously. You know she wouldn't intend to kill him, but the fact that it could, in theory, malfunction and do that unsettles you. Then again, if she told Solix that something was wrong, he could probably psionically stop the machine or break out to save himself, but you're still on edge anyway. Ready? Polypa asks. Definitely, Solix replies back through the speaker. You can see his face on the screen, and if anything, he seems excited. At the controls, Polypa taps a few buttons and slides a slider along a screen partway. But beyond the booth, the huge machinery hisses and starts to move. For several seconds, it rotates at the kind of pace that if you were to follow it on foot would be a sprint, although it's clearly slow for the machine. On the screen, you see Solix lean forward a little to see out of his pod, but he sensibly settles back in place as the machine picks up speed. We're getting to about the speed that gives you that feeling in your stomach, that kind of free-fall lurch, Dave explains in a whisper. Speeding up, Polypa announces. On the screen, Solix seems entirely unfussed, even as the machine beyond the booth starts to blur from going so fast. Yeah, non-psionics, this part can get a little hairy, Dave says. At least now the force of the machine has Solix firmly in his chair. He at least looks like the machine is having some effect on him, but it seems to be mild discomfort at best. Faster again, copy? Polypa asks. Copy, Solix confirms. His pulse is barely above his normal, like he's nervous but fine. On people without psionics, the body freaks out at this point, especially when you've never done this before. It's just not really doing anything to him. Dave says, and shows you his palm husk to confirm. You watch as the machine becomes impossibly fast without seeming to bother Solix too much at all. Polypa finally slows it down and gets up to retrieve Solix. She's gonna tell him if he passed or not when he gets back here, and she can go over his results, Dave whispers. But you think he did? You check, and he nods. It still isn't going to feel real until Polypa says it, so you wait with nerves jangling around in your ribcage. Honestly, you think you might be more nervous than Solix, as you can see him smiling and laughing at Polypa as she gets him out of the pod. Polypa brings him into the booth and takes him over to her screen. She starts to explain his results and what she'd expect to see for a baseline pass. It's frustrating that you can't see her screen, but Solix seems to be pleased as she goes along. So this part is an easy pass, but that's not much of a surprise, Polypa concludes. And the rest of it? Solix asks warily. Polypa frowns and faces Solix properly. You're not a sailor. You still have to do far more training for that, and pass courses that you've not even made any move towards. If you want to become one, you have far more tests to pass and far deeper training to undertake. You have no authority above anyone or anything except the machines you're tasked to repair. You are 100% Strider's responsibility, and you will do whatever he says without question or hesitation, and you are not to be anywhere without him, or, if given his explicit permission, another sailor. Do you understand me? Polypa asks Solix seriously. No, of course. I don't know anywhere near enough to do that. That's years of study, and this was just what I need for this. I'm there to fix things and do what I'm told. I've got no interest in playing explorer and forging off into the frozen wilderness on my own so I can get myself and other people killed. I understand completely, Solix says in a hurry. Shutting up and doing what he's told has never been Solix's strong suit, or yours for that matter, so you can see that he really is taking this seriously if he's happily agreeing to all of that. And I'll expect you to keep any personal conflicts contained and ideally non-existent. It's my job to know about personal clashes like this, and the current arrangement is that sailors Megiddo and Makara will be on a separate ship to you, but you may have to fix things remotely for them in the event that your counterpart is unavailable at the other site, Polypa warns. I've got no problem with Aradia. There's no bad blood there, I swear, and I'm more than capable of keeping my mouth shut around Gamzee, Solix swears. He is reasonably good at that if he's so inclined. Usually he just holds his tongue for your sake. Well then, Polypa nods, on a provisional and limited basis, welcome to the crew and congratulations on passing your test, Captor. Solix's face lights up, and when Polypa offers her hand for him to shake, he does so. Well then, I have other things to attend to. Strider, Captor, I shall see you when you report for quarantine. Polypa nods at the both of them. Yes, sir. Dave nods, his position shifting into something more formal. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Solix stumbles over the words, and his attempt to copy Dave's posture aren't really effective, but it's clear the intent is there. Polypa gives you a disdainful look before she leaves, having been entirely professional with the other two. You suppose your behavior before is something of a mark against you. Shockingly, breaking into top-secret meetings and threatening people can do that for your reputation. The door slides shut, and there's a beat before Solix makes a gleeful, excited sound and throws himself at you and Dave both. Neither of you were really expecting it, and it's a little hard to have a three-person hug. You kind of default to a weird triangle shape with you holding on to Dave as much as Solix. I actually passed! Solix exclaims, almost bouncing with excitement. Congratulations, man. I knew you could do it. You worked so hard for this, Dave says sincerely. Solix is a few inches taller than him. You're shorter than both of them, as both of them remind you of on occasion, but still, it means that you're looking up at the two of them. With you three being this close, you can see Dave and Solix together. They look good together, and you could buy the sincere affection on Dave's face for something less platonic. Of course, that's a horrible thing to think. Dave's with Jade, and as far as you know, the two of them don't do quadrants or multiple partners. Even if they did, Solix's affections seem primarily flushed, but, well, you've been where Solix is. You've had feelings for Dave as well. You get it. Oliva laid it on pretty thick about everyone but the vending machine outranking you, but you'll be fine, for real, Dave adds. Thanks, and thanks to both of you for coming along for all of this. I was so worried I wasn't going to pass, Solix says in a voice that has a slight tremble to it. Goddamn collar bears couldn't keep me away, you tell him firmly. Not a lot of those on the ship. Dave snorts, so you kick him a little in the ankle. Ow, what the shit? I'm reporting to you to... Oh no, that's why you work in HR, so you can maim people at will, Dave says, as insincerely as possible. He's playing the long game, Solix agrees. Solix knows you well enough to levitate himself off of the floor and lift his legs enough so you can't easily kick him in the ankle too, and you do try it. You both suck and I hate you. That aside, the party tonight is going to be great. Everyone can celebrate you passing the test, and I can try to come to terms with how devastatingly alone I'm going to be when you're off rolling around in the snow on the ice world down there, you say. Ugh, I am not looking forward to the cold. I'm not rolling around in any snow, I promise, Solix says with a shudder. You'll be fine. You get used to it, really. Ask Aradia if you don't believe me, Dave swears. Yeah, I might. I think I want to talk to her more before we go. I don't think avoiding each other is great anymore, Solix says, touching down on the floor again. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. Like Polypa said, you won't be around her on the mission much, right? But if you want to clear the air with Aradia, that's very mature of you, and I'm happy if you feel that you're emotionally okay enough to do that, you tell him. I think I'm okay enough for it. I think I'm always going to feel some kind of way when I see her, but I don't hate her for anything. It's not like either of us were deliberately lying to each other. She didn't do anything wrong, or if she did, it was the same as me, so we should be able to get past it, Solix says slowly. For sure. It was just a shitty situation, and you can still care about each other, even if you're not, like, Dave says. I can see where that sentence is going. Let's skip the weird accidental innuendo and you trying to backpedal out of it and only making it worse. You cut in. Called out rude, Dave tuts. Is he wrong, though? Solix asks him teasingly. Hey, let's not let whether Karkat is right or not detract away from my case, Dave says. That definitely sounds like he was right, Solix laughs. 100%. That was going to be a patented Strider innuendo and panicked escape that only digs in deeper. You agree? I like how you're just slandering my family, too, Dave sighs. I'd say that's unfair to Rose, but I do remember her trying to talk to Kanaya early on. Rose is as bad as the rest of you, but she has better PR, you say. You know full well Rose isn't as polished as she'd like to pretend. Oh, definitely, Solix nods. Hey, what happened to you doing whatever I said, huh? Dave challenges Solix, pointing a finger in his face. You haven't technically told me not to make fun of you, Solix points out. Dave purses his lips and narrows his eyes at Solix, like he's trying to decide if he's annoyed at Solix or impressed at his argument. You think it's more the latter, even if he's trying not to let it show. Whatever. Anyway, don't we have a party to prepare for? You got the room, so I assume we have to go fill it with balloons, glitter, taffeta ruffles, cupcakes, or whatever, Dave says, clearly sarcastically. It's a going away and congratulations party, you point out. Not like that thing Rose had one year. What was it called again? Solix asks with a frown. Quinceañera, you remind him. Hey, and fuck you both. That was a badass quinceañera, and she was only she was the only one who got one anyway, so she had to go all out. Besides, Dad was trying to do the whole culture thing. Although, if you are going that big, at least don't do glitter, I swear. I was finding black glitter everywhere for weeks. Dave grimaces at that part. I was thinking a little more low-key than Rose's super spooky quinceañera. You sigh. Boo, hiss, Solix says flatly. As much as I live for irritating Karkat, and as much as I'd love to see Solix in a ball gown, I have to admit that party was so much work, and I'm pretty averse to working hard when I don't need to. Dave points out, and Solix's eyes widen a little at his words, even if he stifles that reaction pretty quickly. I'm pretty against that now too. Now that you put it that way. I'm pretty sure you'll still be training me like crazy after this anyway, so I'm not burning off energy to make a party super fancy. Solix agrees. Fantastic. Now that the Idiot Council has convened and made a ruling, we can do the thing that was originally my plan to begin with. By which I mean you two doing whatever I say. You tell them both. Sir, yes, sir. Oh boy, I sure love to follow whatever orders you say, sir. Dave says as sarcastically as humanly possible. He even snaps a very over-exaggerated salute with it, too. Solix is quietly snickering at Dave's faux recognition of your authority, and Dave is still frozen with it in his dumb salute. Really, the only choice you have is to grab each of them by the shirt and physically drag them away with you. The way things work on the Atuin is that individually your hives aren't all that big. However, people still need space. People have parties, get-togethers, humans especially have gathering and shared meals prepared by someone there as a big part of their cultures. The best way to do this and still maximize space efficiency on your ship is to have event spaces. Anyone can book one, though of course everyone is allocated a certain amount of credit to event spaces, which can be pooled together to pay for it. That stops people hoarding the space and allows everyone to use it. People have big open spaces for weddings or dances of various kinds. Some have kitchens and large dining areas for special meals and cooking occasions, but then there's others, like the space that you've rented, which are more like a very large lounge. Your friends might individually be the type to dance, but it's not really that kind of get-together. You're more looking for music, celebratory food, decorations, and people just catching up. More like the kind of house party event you'd seen in pre-apocalyptic Earth. You've still made decisions about decorating the space, including a banner specifically congratulating Solix for passing his test. Solix raises an eyebrow at you when he opens the envelope with that in, still fresh from the print shop who made it for you. What were you going to do if I didn't pass? Solix asks, psionically unfurling the banner out to check that it's all spelt right and looks good. We had every faith in you. Dave tells him from across the room. You seem pretty nervous, though, KK, Solix says with a look at you. Hi, you've met me, right? I worry about things. It's my thing. I knew you were capable of passing. If anything, I was worried that me being there would somehow throw you off and you wouldn't pass, which would be all my fault. You explain. Next time I want to worry about something, I'm outsourcing it to you, Karkat. Clearly you're far more experienced at it than I am. Dave snorts and shoves an armchair across the floor. Fuck you, I'm an expert at worrying. My services don't come cheap. You shoot back. Solix rolls his eyes at you both and starts hanging the banners as you've directed. Meanwhile, you fuss over the food that you ordered in. It's probably a little early to start putting things into bowls yet, but you also want to be sure that you have enough snack bowls and that they're the optimal size for what they contain. You're setting backs of still sealed chips into bowls when Dave mooches over to try to steal some, and you literally have to smack his hands away. Solix leaves to go collect one of his gaming consoles so that people have something to play if they feel like being nerdy losers, which, given your friend group, is a pretty sure bet. For his part, Dave gets some music going and decides to actually make this a decent mix of current music and not the weird shit he sometimes defaults to, though no doubt he's slipped a track or two of that in there for later. You weren't hatched yesterday, after all. You know better. The point is that when people start arriving, everything is well set up and you're needlessly stressed over nothing. Aradia arrives relatively early, and you watch curiously as Solix goes off to meet her. The two of them drift off into a corner of the room to have a quiet talk. It's good to see that they're okay, Dave says, pretty much voicing your thoughts from his place suddenly at your side. You have no idea how he got that close to you without you noticing, but this is Dave, and you assume he has the same stealth powers as Terezi as a given.
Yeah, he seems happier lately compared to how he was with her. Not that he was unhappy then, but maybe it was all for the best,
you say thoughtfully. I guess so. Dave shrugs and steals a chip from a bowl.
You don't think so?
You ask. About him being happier? I didn't hang out with him a whole lot beforehand, but he didn't seem tragically unhappy or anything. It's not like he's not still sarcastic and ornery now at times. He's still him, but he's definitely happier now than he was right after they broke up. Not gonna argue with you there on that one. But I don't know about Aradia. That breakup wasn't totally mutual, even if she agrees that they'd fallen out of pity. From what Jade said, she's been pretty roughed up by it. I mean, I get that. I can't imagine how much that must hurt, and like I said, they'd already drifted apart some. Dave shrugs.
True. I'm glad I could get Jade talking to her about this, though. It seemed to help.
You say. Oh, for sure. They're talking to each other all the time now. Dave agrees.
Good.
You nod. You don't care if you meddling in people's lives might be partly self-centered. You've still helped there.
Hopefully they'll both grow from this shit show of an experience. Solix wouldn't have done this if all that hadn't happened, and if it's brought Aradia and Jade closer, then all the better. The two of them talking like this now is a good sign that the really fuck-awful parts of this are in the past,
you say with a firm nod. If you say so. Dave shrugs.
If you have something to say, then say it,
you hiss at him, his non-committal attitude really rubbing you the wrong way when you're trying to have a shred of optimism here, for fuck's sake. Dave frowns at you and stands up fully, no longer leaning over the snack table and instead facing you properly. I'm not saying Solix isn't doing better and that Aradia's not getting something out of being Jade's BFF or whatever, positive growth and all that. I'm just saying that getting a new job or a new friend doesn't undo the fact that you got your heart ripped out. Just because something's in the past doesn't mean it doesn't still fuck you up. If they're both getting over it, then great, but it's still something that happened, you know? If Jade broke my heart, it wouldn't unbreak afterwards, even if I got good stuff afterwards. The past scars, man. Dave informs you, his voice quiet so that the others don't hear, but clearly a touch annoyed. Your mind flickers to Dave's past, and you feel a little like you might have put your foot in your mouth a little there.
I didn't mean to imply that it doesn't, or that everything happens for a reason, because that's a load of shit,
you tell him quickly. Good, because that drives me nuts. That everything happens for a reason, and there's a plan for everything, people just make me want to punch him in the throat. Like, hey, me punching you did happen for a reason. The reason being you're a dick. I didn't think you were going that far or anything. I'm just saying that, I don't know. I think if I was Solix or Aradia, that I don't think I'd feel great about, I don't know, being thankful that something shitty happened because it all turned out alright afterwards. Dave sighs, clearly irritated about the people he's spoken to goodness knows how many years ago.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just happy he's doing better. I love both of them, you know? Sometimes people break up and whole friend groups split. Like, oh, you're more his friend than mine, so I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'd hate for that to happen. I care about both of them. It's not like I'm on Solix's side over... You trail off as, across the room, Solix hugs Aradia. It seems a little awkward, but still heartfelt. Good for them.
Yeah, I get you.
Dave nods.
Dave jolts suddenly and turns around in a blur of motion.
Ah, damn it. One day I'll get you.
June laughs brightly. You're literally the only person that doesn't get punched for trying that, you asshole. Dave says, but he's grinning despite his words.
Because you love me. Because I'm your favorite sister, right? I'm definitely not recording this for blackmail purposes or anything,
June says sneakily. IDK, that seems pretty suspect to me. Is this a prank? If it's a prank, you have to tell me. That's prank law right there. Dave warns her.
I refuse to discuss prank law without my legal counsel with me,
June says. Your legal counsel is entirely biased on account of you two doing the nasty on the regular. No, do not give me details. I will put this whole bowl of guac on your head. Don't try me. Dave hurries that last part out as June's grin gets wider and wider. I'll tell you all about it when you least expect it, she snickers. Boy, I'm so excited to be not on this ship soon and hundreds of thousands of miles away from you. For no particular reason, definitely not related to you sending me god-awful messages about Terezi's bulge, Dave says with a grimace. Not to interrupt this thrilling conversation about my friend's bulge, but hi, June, you cut in. Hi, Carcat. Speaking of Terezi, June starts. Not listening, leaving now, la la la! Dave yells, his hands over his ears as he hurriedly backs away. June watches him go with a cat-like smile before turning her attention on you. You were saying? You prompt her. Right, she said she'd probably be here in about 40 or so, she says, entirely unsalaciously. Poor Dave got played. That's great. How's your dad doing? The wedding was really amazing, but I'm sure it was so much work. He must be enjoying not having to plan a wedding anymore, right? You ask. You'd think so, but he really seemed to enjoy all of the organizing. I think Jane got all of that pro-organizing love spreadsheets and timetables DNA. Blah. I'm sure he'd love to do it again if you ask me. I think he's secretly hoping that Jade and Dave will get hitched so he can, but I doubt it, June says, wrinkling her nose at the idea. Oh? You ask curiously. They don't even live together. I'm pretty sure that Dave is, glacially slow with that junk. He's got a better bet with Rose and Kanaya, but, trolls and weddings, she says with a shrug. It's true that weddings aren't really a troll custom at all, and even if interspecies marriages happen, they don't often involve a wedding ceremony like you saw with Jake and Dirk. It's just culturally not a thing for trolls, although you suspect that if any troll would happily do it, you think that Kanaya would be excited to. The chance for fancy outfits, getting everything into color schemes, organizing. Yeah, that'd be a Kanaya thing. If anything, Rose could be the spanner in the works there. She made her quinceañera super gothic and dramatic. Following human traditions as expected isn't exactly Rose's thing. She might not want a wedding at all, even if she does decide to marry Kanaya. I think I'd like to go to more weddings. I can empathize with your dad here, you say thoughtfully. Of course you would. You're a sap. I saw you crying at Dirk's. June laughs loudly. It was emotional, you protest, but she's laughing anyway. For your own sanity, you bail on talking to June and say hi to several of your other friends who have arrived, and to your delight, you get to see Gamzee before too long. There's enough other people here that by then you feel totally comfortable to come up and give your Myrtle a hug without it being a weird public display of affection. Hey, I'm so happy you could make it, you say softly, reaching up to wrap your arms around his neck. You asked, and I heard there were snacks. Gamzee chuckles and squeezes you tightly for a moment. There are definitely snacks. We were going to order pizzas a little later, too, from that place you like. You tell him and watch his eyes light up. Oh, damn, it's my lucky day. And you managed to get Aradia here, too, even with Solix being here. Miracles just don't stop, huh? Gamzee notes, nodding his head over to the corner of the room where Terezi and Aradia are chatting away with Dave. Yeah, Solix passed his test as well, you say. I figured, what with the banner, Gamzee points out. That'd be a shitty thing to leave up if he'd failed. I don't know what I'm going to do with all of you gone for so long. Nepeta, Aradia, Jade, Dave, Solix, and you? That's like half my friends easily. When you come back, I'll be knitting a sweater with hoofbeats on it to stay sane, only the joke is that by that point sanity is long gone in the distance, you say. What about June? Gamzee reminds you. I know, it's just, I always feel bad taking up June's time. She's got all of her biology course load and all the performing stuff she does as well. She's so busy. You sigh. You're not as good at keeping up with June as you should be. To your mind, she's one of those people who seems to be naturally good at everything. She's a fucking classical pianist, and then she's studying for a PhD in biology, specifically on how the human genome remembers things from previous generations. It's called epigenetics or something, but June described it to you once as, like ghost DNA, and you think that sentence gave you think sponge damage. If you're totally honest, you've always been a little jealous of June for how good she is at things. There's still definitely a part of you that's still stood in the playground in your first year of school, absolutely livid that everyone likes June and not you. She didn't even have the decency to be a jerk to you about it, even though she'll absolutely push you back if you were too antagonistic to her. Maybe, in part, you sometimes find it hard to meet up with June because you can't imagine that she'd want to see you, which you're sure isn't true, but it's still in your head somewhere. Come on, Gamzee says, reaching around you so his hand is settled between your shoulder blades. Gamzee steers you over towards June, Rose, and Jade, who are clustered together, talking casually. All three of them look around as you approach, or rather, as Gamzee steers you over there. Hey, Gamzee draws out the word lazily.
Hi, Gamzee, Jade says cheerfully. Getting excited at being shot at a planet again soon?
June asks. It's all part of the job, but I've got good company for this time, so it ain't too bad, right? Gamzee says, flashing Jade a smile.
We're going on the same ship headed to the same site, along with Aradia,
Jade explains.
That's fully finalized then? The last time you told me about it, things were still up in the air.
You say in surprise, looking up at Gamzee. Yeah, it's all sorted now. Dave gets Nepeta and Solix, Gamzee explains. Oh, you wonder if that was what Dave had been around your place for. He might have been relaying that information to Gamzee. Kind of odd to do that in person when a message would have sufficed, but maybe they were on their way back from somewhere. You didn't really ask. You had a lot of other things on your mind.
Wait, doesn't that mean that you and Dave are going to be hundreds of miles apart?
Rose asked Jade, with surprise clear on her face.
Shit, yeah, isn't your whole 10-year anniversary coming up?
June asks.
It's going to be while we're down there, yeah. The timing's kind of unfortunate, but it's... time's an arbitrary thing when it comes to milestones. It's a lot less flexible when it comes to when the launch window is and everything like that. It's fine, though,
Jade assures you all.
That sucks, though. I'm sorry,
you say, but Jade waves you off.
It's fine. I'll be with Jake, and I've been spending loads of time hanging out with Aradia, and we'll be working together, so it'll be great. And you too, Gamzee, Jade says.
If you get all lonely, we can all hang out like a slumber party or something. We can, braid each other's hair or some shit, Gamzee says thoughtfully. Jade, I have a burning desire to see that. Braid Gamzee's hair to sleep over and send me pictures, June says in a stage whisper, making Jade laugh. I didn't read the thing ahead. It's fine. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Sorry. I had a thing, and I just needed to check it because I have a disease. The needing to check things disease. I think I'd also be interested in seeing that, Rose chuckles.
You joke, but we're only allowed to take so much stuff with us. People get bored. It might just come to that.
Jade laughs. You want that too, Croquette? Want me to come back all pretty? Gamzee asks you. It'd make a change, you say meanly, only to shriek when Gamzee tries to tickle you out of revenge. From across the room, you just catch Dave yelling a demand to know how you can be so loud, but you're too busy escaping to tell him to fuck off. The party progresses, and you feel pretty pleased at how well it's all going. Everyone is getting on, and there's a nice mix of stuff to do, and also space to talk. The groups switch around organically of their own accord, and you spend time talking to pretty much everyone. The nice thing about the rented event spaces is that it's all self-contained, so you're able to go to an ablution block that's part of the same space without having to leave and find a public one. You're just washing your hands when voices catch your attention.
What's wrong?
Aradia asks, her voice weirdly clear for you being in the next room. For a second, you think that she's talking to you, but you've not been in here long enough for anyone to reasonably think that you're unwell or anything. Only then someone else replies.
Nothing, really,
Jade says back, her tone bright.
It feels like you've got something on your mind. Is it just the mission? We've been on expeditions before, so you shouldn't be nervous,
Aradia points out. Looking around you, you see that there's a vent in the corner of the room. The two of them must be right under it, so it funnels their words straight to you. Your hands are still dripping wet, so you search for the towel to dry them off.
It's not that I'm not scared or anything. It's just... I don't know. Seeing you here with Solix, I'm surprised you're okay with that. I thought that breaking up a relationship that was so long-running would mean that you'd never be able to be around each other properly again, Jade says, and you'd been worried about that too. I'd be lying if I said it was completely easy. There's a lot of old habits that I'm catching myself before I do them. Not touching him so much, or I don't know. It's hard to put into words, but like I said before, even though he broke up with me, it's not like he was wrong. It wasn't the right relationship for either of us, and I want him to be happy. He was right for me once, but that changed. It happens. It doesn't mean I have to lose him as a friend, too, Aradia says. Her words sound emotional, like it took a lot for her to realize that, but you think she's right. You're just glad that they are still able to be friends. You care about them both. I always used to think about breakups as this awful thing. You dump someone because they hurt you or they're shitty. I'm not dumb. I know there are other reasons, but those were the only ones I could picture, if that makes sense. Like, I thought that if you had a problem but it wasn't as bad as all that, then you should talk and fix things, you know? Jade says. That's not something you should rule out, but Aradia says. But talking to you about everything with Solix has just made me see that sometimes there are problems in a relationship, and it's no one's fault, and you don't want to hurt someone or anything like that, but it's not a thing that can be fixed, or it's just that you've become different people or grown apart, and Jade interrupts Aradia, talking in a rush. Jade, breathe. What are you... You're talking about Dave. About you and Dave, Aradia says quietly. I love him so much. I always will love him, but he's happy with how things are, and I don't think I can stay like this. Or, no, what's worse is I can stay like this. This isn't what I want, and it's not who we both are now, but it'd be so easy to not see that and just stay how we are right now and never change, just like you and Solix. And humans don't live forever, and the future isn't... That's not the future I want, Jade says, her tone hushed and desperate. Jade, are you sure? Aradia asks softly. I think so. The stupid thing is that I probably wouldn't have realized this if I hadn't talked to you about Solix after you broke up. Oh, no, I didn't mean... It's not your fault or anything. You didn't make me talk to you. I can't tell him now. We've got the mission, but we're going to have been together for 10 years, and I can't stay much more than that. Jade trails off. No, I get it. I'm really sorry, though, Aradia says quietly. Shit, I shouldn't look sad or people will ask why. Let's go get pizza, okay? Jade says, brightening suddenly in a way that sounds fake to your ears. You stand there with your hands still dripping water and stare at yourself in the mirror. So much for your meddling always being for the better. If you'd not steered Jade towards Aradia, this might not have happened. Oh, God. Dave was just telling you how much losing Jade would destroy him, and you've been the agent of that destruction without him even knowing about it yet. This is all your fault. You nudged Jade into talking to Aradia because you needed to fix things. You told yourself that it didn't matter if you had self-serving motivations influencing your desire to help people because you still cared about them, and you helping them fix things for them made you feel better. Only, you haven't fixed things at all. Solix recovered just from living with his friends, and Aradia would have been fine, and probably, like Gamzee said, would have leant on her friends of her own accord. But no, you had to get involved. You had to fuss at Aradia until she snapped at you, and when that wasn't good enough, you sent Jade to help. But now Jade's discovered that she doesn't want to be with Dave anymore, and it's all because she's been talking to Aradia about Solix because you asked her to. Oh, shit. Dave agreed to have Solix move in to help him out and do you a favor, and this is how you repay him? They've been together for almost 10 years. Actually 10 during this mission they're going on. You know, the one that Jade's probably going to break up with him after. What the hell have you done? What indeed?
So how's everyone enjoying being inside of Carcat's mind? Make it stop! Oh, unfortunately, they've not yet figured out how to make Carcat stop blaming himself for things. If they'd figured it out, they would have done it a long time ago. It's kind of his thing. That and worrying. That one line about, "Hi, have you met me? I worry about everything." It's kind of my thing. I felt that. I felt that so much. The thinking just does not stop. Well. What I'm thinking right now is that I definitely heard my roommate making chicken tenders in the air fryer, and I know it's that because I can smell it, and you'll never believe what I really want now. So yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so that's it for the chapter. I'll make my own tendies. I can make my own tendies, but I will pass the message along. Yeah, I'm gonna set up the VOD, make tendies, and then I am going to draw, because last night I was drawing for my own AU that I'm making. I just decided to draw a bunch of hugs. And there's another one that I want to draw, and then I'm going to color them all. And I really want to do that. So, yeah, I will catch you guys later. Thank you so much for coming. Oops. Thank you so much for showing up and vibing with me to the tune of Carcat's emotional anguish over his own mistakes and tendencies and thought processes and everything else also. Because he doesn't know how to not. I will catch you guys back here tomorrow. And I hope you have a wonderful time zone. Yeah. That's it from me. Bye-bye.